Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to first of all thank our witnesses who are being here, and I represent the 14th District of North Carolina, and our state is actually one of the fastest growing states in the country, and the region that I represent is one of the fastest growing regions in the state. Families are moving in, businesses are expanding, really because at the state level we've lowered taxes, we've cut red tape, but what we've also seen is a lot of the pain with growth and prosperity are the limits in terms of housing. I mean, a lot of the problems have been talked about today, and the housing supply simply has not kept up. And as a result, housing costs have just climbed far beyond anything that a lot of working families can reasonably afford. And it's not regional. You all have testified already to how this is a national problem. Probably caused, I mean, the last 4 years, try not to be too political here, but the last 4 years were probably just out of control in terms of what happened with inflation. But, the problems that we have are longer and systemic and so forth. So I think my understanding is right now nationwide there's a shortage of as many as, 5.5 million homes. I'll start with Mr. Peter. You've written extensively about the constraints created by zoning restrictions and land use policies. In a nutshell, what tools do you think could encourage localities to modernize the outdated zoning frameworks?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So at the local level, it boils down to just getting out of the way. And there are certain jurisdictions that are always going to be against building more housing, but in those instances, the state preemption can play a role in overcoming some of these concerns. And we're seeing lots of movement from Washington, Oregon, California, Montana, Texas that have all moved in the direction.
I'll tell you, before I came here, I was a state legislator for 22 years. I was also an attorney and handled a lot of land use and a lot of real estate work for folks. And I, at one time, used to have either commercial, residential, R4, R5, breakdowns. Now it seems like I've noticed more and more folks want to do all these UDOs, Unified Development Ordinance, want to do a kind of special variants for this development or that development. And I can't help but imagine that is passing along significant costs that end up being borne on the taxpayer. Anybody want to, or excuse me, on the home buyer? Anybody want to comment on that?
I mean, I can make another point about this. And I mean, from a city perspective, if you allow a little bit greater density, we call it light touch density, you're going to be able to broaden your tax base. And in the jurisdictions that we've studied, in some of them, they were able, because they have a broader tax base, they have more taxable value, they were able to lower the tax rate for their citizens. So that has resulted in positive externalities.
In addition to zoning, I think my understanding is a lot of permitting delays, zoning issues, environmental reviews, and outdated federal requirements add cost and also years to projects. And of course, adding time adds cost. So, Ms. Smith, I'll ask you this question. Multifamily developers face multiple layers of environmental review at the federal, at the state, and at the local levels. How do these overlapping requirements impact the timing and the financial feasibility of large multifamily projects?
They obviously add tremendous costs. We talked about that 40.6% of the cost of a multifamily dwelling unit is tied up in soft costs or regulations. It also moves, it sort of moves development around too. I was going to mention that your state of North Carolina is getting a lot of attention from developers from this region because it's easier, it's faster, it's a better development process, and as a result, North Carolina is getting a lot more housing. High-quality rental housing.
Yep. Mr. Sears, question for you. I hear realtors often say that it's nearly impossible today to deliver a home for under $250,000, which blows my mind. What are the most common regulatory or permitting obstacles that prevent builders from meeting that price point?
Regulatory, it's the patchwork of zoning across municipalities and localities. Not knowing that they're going to have a streamlined process. Sometimes inspectors get in the way. There's a myriad of reasons why it can be more difficult to build. And there's the time value to money, so anything that can be cut off of the length of time before the shovel gets in the ground and then the final occupant moves in will make things more affordable.
Thank you. I had other questions. My time is nearly over, but I do think it's important I appreciate these witnesses here today and my colleagues, frankly, on both sides of the aisle who acknowledge that affordability is a huge issue and that we need to find more ways to make home ownership the reality for more and more Americans, and I appreciate the work. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your work because I know this is something you and your subcommittee are working on very hard. So thank you on that. Count me as an ally in this whole process. With that, I yield back.